Hey guys, tonight we're going to wander through the story of a man born in a humble log cabin who would one day become a key player on the world stage, Abraham Lincoln. Imagine settling into a story so cozy, it feels like wrapping yourself in a favorite blanket warmed just right. Pillows fluffed up behind you like little supportive clouds. You can almost hear the soft crackling of a candle struggling to stay lit. And there's your sleepy dog, curled at your feet like a warm, fuzzy footrest that sometimes grumbles in its sleep. Now listen, you probably won't survive this one without at least thinking of how wild history can really be. So buckle in, or rather, nestle in. Before you get too comfy, feel free to tap like or subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying the calm around here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is over there. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, go ahead and lower the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background, and let's drift gently into tonight's story together. You wake up in the year 1809 in a quiet little piece of land called Hardin County, Kentucky. The air is brisk, and you can feel the chill nipping at your nose, but the warmth of the fireplace in the one-room log cabin begins to work its magic. This is where Abraham Lincoln's journey begins. Amidst the swaying trees and the occasional hum of a gentle wind that sneaks through the gaps in the wooden walls. Can you picture Abe, tiny and full of life, toddling around? Perhaps with his hair mussed up, like a kid who just refused to brush it before school. Abraham is the second child of Thomas and Nancy Lincoln, honest-to-goodness pioneers living that log cabin life. It's a life that's somehow simpler and much more complicated all at once, right? Like trying to organize your days without the GPS of modern technology. Those days where maps were more than just background decoration. Now, here's a quirky tidbit. Abe was actually born on the same day as Charles Darwin. So that's something to think about. Maybe, if their lives had somehow crossed, Lincoln could have explained Darwin's theories with the ease he later used to charm political crowds. But for now, he'd simply be worrying about keeping warm and figuring out the world around him, one small step at a time. Historians still argue about just how much influence Lincoln's early years had on his later life. Not a simple kitchen conversation topic, right? Did they set the stage for his resilience? Or would he have been the same no matter where he was born? Food for thought. Maybe like pondering if rewinding that Netflix episode for the third time will finally help you pick up on the subplot you keep missing. In the Lincoln cabin, it's all about survival and family. You watch Abe's folks with their humble ambitions, setting the scene for those core values young Abe would clutch onto like a safety blanket. As a toddler, you've got him trying to follow his older sister, Sarah, maybe slipping on the dirt floor now and then. Like that time you attempted fancy footwork in those socks that have zero grip. One constant melody of Abe's early life, underscored by the soft rustling of life surrounding the cabin, is Thomas Lincoln's struggle with land deeds and the uncertainties of farming life. You almost hear the sighs echo of today's version of updating your resume while lying on the floor, knowing tomorrow holds just as many unknowns. And honestly, as you begin to drift deeper into this night of nostalgic meandering, imagine stepping outside the cabin. The stars hang so thick in the sky that one might be tempted to like them all if they only had that virtual option. It's the kind of sky that invites wonder and awe, just like Lincoln himself would become. An enigma, a towering figure whose origins were as humble as the murmur of wind through those old Kentucky trees. You wander through the next few years, still in Kentucky. The chill of winter gradually fades into springs that feel almost magical. We're talking about a time when heading to school meant a quaint one-room schoolhouse, not your run-of-the-mill classroom. Abe, young and gangly, sets off for his first taste of education, which consisted of maybe a few weeks here, a few months there. His schooling, let's just say, was more pop-up than the stable routine of reading, writing, and arithmetic. It wasn't exactly your planned school schedule, more like when you hope the fridge has something new every time you open it as if by magic. Now, here's a historical fact to savor like a good night snack. Lincoln's total schooling across his childhood was less than a year. But the man was like a sponge. He would devour any book he could get his hands on. Whole libraries wouldn't be enough for him. Abe reads like someone who can't stop scrolling through addictive TikToks, always looking for that next piece of information that just might change his world. Life pulls one of those classic moves where it decides it's time for a change. The Lincoln family packs up, leaving Kentucky behind in a move to Indiana. You're trailing along, packing lightly because, well, space is a luxury. Thomas Lincoln decides the family should start anew, like hitting refresh, hoping the new place is the update life's been needing. As they settle down, tragedy hits like an unexpected plot twist. Abe's beloved mother, Nancy, passes away when he's just 9. She was bitten by the milk sickness bug, a mysterious affliction that's rarely understood even today. You feel the somber hue of the cabin turning a touch more gray, the kind of gray that plays on your emotions like a moody soundtrack that makes you think back to your own rainy days. To thread a little sunshine through the moment, Abe's father remarries, and this new stepmom, Sarah Bush Johnston, turns out to be the fairy godparent of Abe's formative years. Imagine her armed with not a wand, but a kind heart and encouragement push. She insisted on books, treating them as essentials, kind of like you treat charging cables. Never enough of them around when you need one. Abe's growing up, and let's be honest, he still keeps wearing that hat too big for him, and boots that might as well be from a yard sale where size is the least concern. Historians still bicker over Lincoln's detailed early ambitions. Did he see himself as destined for politics, or did that come later? The youthful Lincoln, as awkward and lanky as a teenager trying to find out where he fits in this jigsaw puzzle of a world, perhaps already had inklings of greatness in moments of solitude. Abraham, in his awkward teenage years, would be a top contender for most soul-searching glances into the distance. In this Indiana landscape, he chases knowledge and lets his brain dance on this rugged stage of early America. The solitude of the woods mirrors the quiet pause before streaming the next episode of life. Abe spends his time splitting logs, as casually as one might say they're working out at home, except he's building fences for his dad, not sculpting a physique for Instagram. A peculiar nugget floating in Lincoln lore. Rumor has it that Abe would write essays and speeches on the back of a shoveled piece of bark, much like drafting tweets on a napkin before they see the light of day online. And honestly, the way Abe lingers in thoughts and ideas, turning them over like skipping stones, it's like he's processing his future role with the same easy focus you channel during a relaxed binge of your favorite peaceful video series. Eventually, Indiana fades to Illinois in the background, the next step in life's long winding road, which for Abe feels less like the Rand McNally guidebook and more like a treasure map with destiny twinkling at its end. You're with him as he grows into the tall, iconic figure history remembers. But for now, he's just Abe, craving understanding in a world as curious and complex as a late-night Google search history. You're still wandering alongside young Abe as life unspools in Illinois, a place that to him must have felt like a live version of an unfolding choose-your-own-adventure book. Only, this adventure's packed with hard work, more log splitting, and Abe's undeniable need to stretch beyond his rural roots. Despite its challenges, Illinois offers a new kind of raw beauty. Open fields, wide skies, and the kind of sunsets that make you sigh as if they're wrapping up a day just for you. Abe finds work on a flatboat, a journey that takes him down the Mississippi River, where the currents are as unpredictable as a TikTok algorithm. He's working with a new kind of sweat equity here, hauling goods down to New Orleans. Imagine that vast river's pull, like a conveyor belt leading him towards education by experience. It's on this river where he witnesses the harsh, chilly reality of slavery, which carves a mark on his heart, like etching names into tree bark, a permanence hidden among the natural grain. When he's not floating downriver, Abe works odd jobs, a store clerk here, a surveyor there. He's stacking skills like they're Pokemon cards, wildly diverse, but each somehow useful in their own time. One might say it's the historical equivalent of holding multiple tabs open in his brain, hoping each one finds its proper use. Fact time. Lincoln actually worked for a time in a general store, where his boss called his honesty for returning surplus change righteous. It earned him the nickname Honest Abe, which feels a legit precursor to having your own hashtag trend in the right circles. Imagine Abe rolling his eyes, though, because really, he's just trying to make it through the day like the rest of us. Okay, so here's the wild part. There's a bizarre story about a written letter he once sent to a rival challenging him to a duel. Yes, a proper one-on-one saber style. They never actually dueled, thankfully, but let's just appreciate that for a second. Can you see Abe, in his tall, gangly form, pacing back and forth, thinking about this challenge like he's strategizing a chess move, only with higher stakes? Sometimes, history feels more like an episode of your favorite dramedy. Historians still argue whether Lincoln's folksy charm was cultivated consciously or naturally inherited. Scratch that. What we know for sure is that Abe could engage any crowd mesmerically, perhaps an early influencer before the term was defined. Meanwhile, imagine him discovering the law. It's like catching a hobby you kind of adore but feel weird admitting you love. He's never quite boxed into one lane. He's exploring, learning. Imagine watching him by candlelight, poring over law books, much like late-night messages left unread until the morning finally calls for attention. He eventually takes on a role steeped in community and justice, much like a classic hero arc. Except, he's his own reluctant hero. Abe's early ventures into politics are reminiscent of dipping a toe in a curious lake by moonlight. He starts in the Illinois state legislature, just a young man among seasoned voices, earnest yet savvy. That's when the seeds of greatness start to grow roots. He's the guy with ideas, but also one of the few who actually does what he says, standing out in a world where many love to promise the moon while hiding behind clouds. Abe's evolving, stretching, and the Lincoln we all eventually come to know is starting to form. Tall hat, but still searching. And you're right alongside him, wondering if this twist in life will hold the answers akin to opening a text at 2 a.m. One eye squinting, but heart racing a little at the possibilities. As life moves him from river to office, from wanderer to leader, you can almost hear the ticking of fate, the unclickable clock in the background, winding itself toward infinite possibility. As the story ambles on, you find yourself witnessing an evolution of earlier times as Abe paves his path through young adulthood. The air in Springfield, Illinois, holds a light, lingering novelty, like opening a new book that has that crisp page feel. Abe now has his sights set a bit higher. He chooses law as his main gig, diving into it like it's the streaming service of his day, with a whole series of court cases waiting to be explored. People often said that when Abe walked into a room, it was hard to ignore him. Not just because he was tall, tall enough to change a light bulb without a step stool, but because he had this quiet magnetism, a whispered promise of stories untold hanging off him like a forgotten price tag. People would listen, but more importantly, people believed. Picture Abe sitting in a law office, piles of papers surrounding him like a fortress of wisdom. The wooden floor creaking slightly beneath the weight of history being written. His reputation for honesty precedes him, making him more popular than a funny cat video in an otherwise mundane news feed. And as he speaks, his words weave tales so believable, they make deep issues feel approachable. Abe meets Mary Todd during this Law and Order era. Mary, with her own sparkle of vivacity, connects with Abe through what's been rumored to be a shared love for debates. Can you see it? Abe and Mary staring at each other, each wondering if the other is going to laugh first at a wayward, witty retort. A relationship begins that's like a well-written rom-com, full of banter, misunderstandings, and eventually that perfect moment where everything clicks into place. Once, during the early phase of their courtship, Abe and Mary reportedly broke off their engagement, only to reconcile some time later. Some say it was nerves. Others say it was pressure. Or maybe it was simply excusable early relationship hiccups that mirror today's taking a break to find ourselves digital dating dilemma. They eventually tie the knot with a ceremony as understated yet genuine as a heartfelt like from a loyal friend. Historians still argue about Mary's influence over Abe. Did she push him towards greatness or stand as a pillar whilst he carved his own path? One thing's for sure. Their bond was a complex quilt of love sewn together amidst the tapestry of political ambition and personal trials. Speaking of ambitions, Abe's early dabbling in politics sees him crossing paths with characters that would not be out of place in any good political drama series. His loyalty, tenacity, and ability to navigate complex moral landscapes guide him through the maze-like corridors of power. It's like he's drafting a real-life script, one episode at a time. And here's a quirky flashback. Abe is often remembered for a storytelling skill that could capture a room's attention in seconds, letting him diffuse tensions or lighten moods when others faltered. His tales, often laced with humor, were akin to quick-fire memes. They delivered unexpected laughs and connections, richer than double-tapping a heart. Yet amidst all this personal growth, professional commitment, and historical intention, Lincoln stayed grounded. It's said he could be found walking Springfield's small city streets, stopping to chat with everyday folks. You can almost see him tipping his tall hat to neighbors, lingering like it's an intentional pause before diving back into the whirlwind. Abraham Lincoln is becoming a name people recognize, a force gradually etching its place in history like a favorite song humming in the background, waiting to crescendo. As he moves toward the national stage, He's like a figure in an old photograph taking clearer shape, frame by frame, ushering in his next act where stakes are even higher, dreams vaster, and challenges, well, truly worthy of the limelight. And you're right there with him, feeling as though you've known him all along, or like you're watching a dear friend find their way, one improbable step at a time. The next chapter begins with an air of anticipation filling the streets, the kind where you can almost feel the electricity buzz, like when you know something big is about to drop. It's the early whispers of a presidential campaign. Abe's name is beginning to ripple across more serious arenas, like celebrities being tossed around in rumor circles. His debates with Stephen Douglas are a highlight. Imagine it like a political version of a boxing ring, except there are no gloves, just words flying like arrows. These celebrated Lincoln-Douglas debates become the talk of the nation, capturing attention more effectively than a trending hashtag. As Abe speaks, his voice is steady, a mix of clarity and conviction designed to resonate even with listeners at the back row of the crowd. Historians still argue whether those debates were the definitive moment that secured Lincoln's place in the presidential race. Some say they showcased his ability to engage deeply and meaningfully with the most pressing issues. Others claim it was just an appetizer for the main course of his political storytelling prowess. In one of those debates, Abe says something along the lines of, "A house divided against itself cannot stand," addressing the brewing tensions of the slavery issue. The weight of those words is like hitting the pause button in a heated movie scene. The audience, like you, is left clinging to those syllables, wondering about the plot twists to come. Meanwhile, Abe is not just running on speeches and appeals. Back home, he's still that man who enjoys a good wrestling match. Believe it or not, he was quite the athletic youngster. While the idea of a future president pinning down opponents in mud might seem quirky, it's a reminder that behind those political battlegrounds, there's an everyday human quest for adventure and moments of spark. But life isn't all debates. Abe's personal life is like a tapestry woven with the threads of complexity. He and Mary have a growing family, so his role as a father and husband adds its own layers to the narrative. Can't you just see him coming home, kicking off his shoes, like one might today when coming back from a long day, sinking into a chair with the kind of gratitude reserved for the end of a roller coaster week? Amidst this whirlwind, the presidential election looms. It's reminiscent of a high school graduation day where the promises of future dreams bound crashingly with trepidation. Lincoln's waiting nervously, hope softly padding each moment like a dog circling before settling. The nation holds its breath, waiting for the verdict of the votes. People sitting around, much like waiting for the results of a reality show final. When he eventually wins, Abe's thrust into the Oval Office, with expectations draped around him like a too heavy winter coat. Yet, he steps into his role with the same earnestness and fortitude he's carried since childhood. His presidency is set against the backdrop of impending civil war, a conflict as tangled as a mess of fairy lights before they light up a room. The issues at hand are more dire and divisive than any political reality show episode you could imagine. As you follow Abe through this transitional seed, note that he's still carrying pieces of that young boy from Kentucky. A boy with dreams scooped from the stars littered across those early years. Now, as president, he's grounding his vision with determination as steady as an old clock ticking quietly in the corner of a shadowed room. Even as society clashes and the nation teeters on the brink of unprecedented change, Lincoln rises to the challenge. He embodies the inner resolve of someone who sets 5 alarms and then ignores them, all knowing they'll wake anyway to face what must be faced. There's no playbook, only his compass of honesty and conviction guiding him through the labyrinthine halls of history. And if you've squished yourself into his shoes for even a moment, you know one truth. It's not about being fearless, but about choosing hope when faced with fear, just like Abe does, embracing each turn of this unfolding story as though it's the next chapter in a never-ending book. The scene shifts as Abe steps fully into his presidential role. Each day greets him with new challenges, the kind that would make lesser souls waver, but not Lincoln. His presidency begins with a nation torn asunder, like mismatched socks that'll never quite fit together. The air in Washington, D.C. is charged, as though every debate happening behind the Capitol's doors might just waft through the city streets. This is a time with a sharp edge, where the very future of the country feels like a high-stakes game holding its breath. With the election settled, Abe's focus pivots abruptly to the impending storm, the Civil War. It's as if he's been handed an intricate puzzle, missing half its pieces, and he's supposed to make sense of it. Imagine the pressure. It's like attempting to explain TikTok to your grandma while she nods along, only somewhat getting it. But honestly, the stretch where Lincoln decides to sustain the Union is a testament to calm perseverance. He's determined to bind a nation together, one painstaking decision at a time. Fact time. During the Civil War, Lincoln navigated more challenges than we often remember. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, a landmark decision that began the process of freeing enslaved people, forever etching his mark on history. While some cheered, others balked at such decisive action, and Lincoln quietly bore the weight like a balancing act on an emotional tightrope. Yet, amidst the declarations and wartime strategies, Abe still found a way to intersperse lightness. Picture him visiting Union camps, bringing both gravitas and humanity with him. It's said he would talk with soldiers, sharing humor even amidst shadows, a little like finding laughter during the dramatic tension of a season finale. Historians still debate whether Lincoln's humor was an intentional tool to diffuse tension or simply a natural outpour of his character. Honestly, it's probably both. It seems like one of those open tabs in the mind you never quite close, always wondering back to. There's a quirky tidbit here too. Apparently, Lincoln was quite fond of theater. Despite the widespread turmoil, he would occasionally unwind as if stepping into a quiet movie, screening away from the chaos, losing himself in the actors' tales. One famous instance involved a little-known fact about how he loved Douglas Jerrold's comedic play, The Rent Day, which offered him brief pockets of respite. Can you see him, unplugged for a moment, perhaps chuckling quietly to himself, before the weight of the world beckons once more? Back on the home front, the Lincoln family life bore its own challenges. With Mary by his side, orchestrating gatherings and supporting causes like soldiers' welfare, their dynamic was an ever-evolving entity. Like many of those periods where life seems to both expand and contract, each personal decision became enmeshed within higher stakes. Yet amidst these trials, such as days when it felt as if the very threads of America's fabric were unraveling, Abe leaned into his truth. He adopted a forward-facing front that resonated with the same sincerity as a heartfelt letter mailed to a dear friend, carrying with it the promise of hope and renewal despite the tumult painted around him. There were days when the emotional toll felt heavier than the layers of responsibility draped around him. And still, through each meeting, each decision, each second guessed, but followed through action, he steered the nation forward. Imagine the calm resolve of one staring out over a storm-tossed sea with nothing but faith in tomorrow's dawn. Lincoln's journey through this impassioned saga becomes a lesson not just in leadership, but in humanity, in choosing courage over fear, inch by inch, day by day. Together, as we drift back and forth from the epicenter of his presidency to the quieter corners of his life, you find yourself folded into a quilt of empathy, resilience, and the enduring promise of a hope-filled tomorrow. Just like Lincoln's very own dream, thoughtfully pinned into each choice he made under all those watchful stars. You find yourself moving alongside Abe through the heart of the Civil War, a time when every dawn seems to crackle with expectancy. It's as though each morning held its own kind of battle, a flurry of decisions that would ripple out like pebbles into history's wide pond. Somewhere, in the midst of these turbulent days, Lincoln drafts one of his most famous documents, the Emancipation Proclamation. It's a declaration of freedom and change, as bold as switching to dark mode to save your tired eyes from the glare. Can you picture Abe, pen in hand, at his desk in the dim light of a flickering candle? The gravity of his choices would have felt as heavy as those leaden winter evenings that stretch on endlessly. He knows this proclamation won't end the Civil War, but it's a profound step, like deciding to order takeout after looking at an empty fridge for too long, because you just need to do something that feels right. Around the country, people reacted in different ways, some jubilant, others wary, because, well, even in history, change carries its own kind of messiness. Like when you finally tackle that closet, only to face an avalanche of clothes you forgot you had. Meanwhile, bustling within the social climate of the day is Mary Todd Lincoln, working tirelessly among forces both societal and personal. Even as factions fracture, she stands resolute, like a lighthouse weathering an unforgiving storm. She organizes events and rallies, bringing moral and material aid to wounded soldiers. Historians tend to argue whether Mary's influence was positive or problematic, perhaps a mix. But there's no doubt she was a solid fixture in the flurried backdrop of Abe's presidency, certainly reminding him of home. And amidst these monumental declarations and personal trials layered several hues of tragedy and triumph, something momentous happens. Abe pens the Gettysburg Address. Just 272 words, written on a scratch of notepaper, but it carries a weight beyond its brevity. Attendees watch as he steps forward to speak, and time seems to slow down, like those golden layered moments when you're not quite awake yet not altogether asleep either. He starts, 77 years ago. In streamlining complexity into a few short paragraphs, Lincoln reminds the nation of its core values, of unity. Can't you feel that perfect balance? The there but not quite motion, like when a spacebar clicks in a quiet room, expecting a flavor of silence that oddly reflects more meaning. It's a speech that carries the kind of solemn simplicity that echoes longer than the applause. Despite all this, the war drags on, a dissonant note punched out against otherwise hopeful symphony chords. Yet Lincoln lunges into the fray repeatedly, his focus clear, his steps steady. You can imagine him in midnight hours walking the halls of the White House, seeking solace amidst pillar shadows. Or perhaps, like a quietly whispered prayer to a listening world, he speaks into his own heart's echo, dreaming of the peace that might eventually find them someday. Then there's the curious fact that Lincoln often visited war sites in person. It's like he couldn't entirely believe without feeling the earth beneath his own feet. He'd describe them later with a kind of raw, meticulous care that's as if narrating a visual story so vivid each listener sways at the painted images. Historians still puzzle over Lincoln's thoughts during those battlefield visits, whether fear or foresight etch their signatures deeper. But in truth, his heart beats for each stride taken, each letter written, each battle waged in mind and spirit. And even here, under the heavy blanket of uncertainty, Abe becomes not just a character from tales past, but a beacon of endurance whose light extends clear into our present dust-specked shelves of timeless dreams. And as you sink further into this carpeted history, between the cracks of his life's narrative, Lincoln's journey through strife and perseverance is beginning to crest. Each chapter stitched with threads of a life full of dreams, resilience, and the undying hope of unity, as endless as a night's wandering memory, gently guiding you towards a calm dawn ahead. The story continues to meander through the waking moments of Lincoln's presidency, as profound resilience etches into the country's veins. Each decision Abe makes feels like an ink blot spreading across time, bleeding into the stories shared over countless hearths long after the fire has died down. Life has become an intricate dance, a mise-en-scène of leadership and loss, determination shadowed by tribulation. Amidst this, personal tragedies loom heavily over the White House. Abe and Mary face heartbreak with the passing of their son, Willie. It's a grief that's utterly human, utterly relatable, a shared pain that crosses the imaginary divide of time, like the solitude of scrolling through memories late at night, seeking the comfort of familiarity. The Lincoln family carries this sorrow much like their silent, steady stride towards the future. Another weight welded into their already teeming hearts. The walls of the White House seem to hold silent the whispers of mourning and the warmth brought through by gathering memories. Abe walks down the corridors with a quietness that sticks with you, like those moments when rain taps gently against the window, offering its melancholic symphony to anyone willing to listen. Here's a quirky nugget. Lincoln reportedly dreamt of boats and rivers before major events in his life. Some suggest it was his subconscious processing the tide of events, while others say such dreams might have offered solace, a mental journey diverging from the heavy today. Historians still discuss whether these dreams were mere coincidence or a preferred library his mind frequented in those silent hours. In the midst of sorrow and reflection, there comes a pivotal moment when Lincoln gears towards re-election. The stakes are more akin to a reality TV-style cliffhanger, but with life and death implications and a hope crescendoing through layers of tension. Will Abe emerge victorious or find his resolve tested beyond the limits? The country waits, breath bated, as if flipping a coin holding the future's weight upon its edges. Picture Abe preparing for a second term like gearing up for another marathon, except this time, he's sprinting with the weight of 4 tumultuous years trailing along. Yet, from under the blanket of these darkened times, Abe emerges, not without scars, but still carrying his lantern heart forward. One thing you'll want to know. Lincoln loved telling stories, using anecdotes like secret weapons in conversations. They were delightful quips and soulful parables, enriched with nuggets of wisdom that had listeners feeling like they were part of an exclusive club. Each tale like a calming balm amidst chaos. As the Dance of Dragons, or more aptly, Union and Confederate forces, unfolds, Abe holds steady to his course, his pen and words bearing witness to a transformational chronicle. His journey, one step at a time, feels like it's reaching an ethereal finish line, the kind you envision under moonlit imaginations, where things just seem, well, slightly more settled for everyone involved. And as his presidency unwinds through its twilight chapters, there's an awakening. Imagine Abe on walks through Washington, perhaps with a friend or alone, tracing steps among fallen leaves and blossoming ideas. The Capitol becomes a living organism, bridging history with future, connecting every silent prayer and every dream unfurled under those watchful skies. The weary country begins eyeing sketched horizons painted anew with possibilities, just as storm clouds clear after the longest night to unfurl one hopeful dawn. Lincoln's term gracefully curves toward its epilogue, till the last notes of his legacy echo into tomorrow's tales, whispered timelessly among the stars, twinkling overhead like promises not yet forgotten. And through it all, the simple truth abides. No matter which way it swings, history is a notebook penned by moments strung together, chapters of perseverance, strife, heart, and finally, peace. As Lincoln's epic tale softly folds into the annals of time's memory, you feel it lingering too, like the contours of a much-loved story you just might carry with you forever, through the depths of dreams yet unfolded. Here, in the closing chapters of his tenure, you find Abe caught in the delicate dance between hope and despair, akin to that precarious edge between sleep and wakefulness. His resolve remains unwavering, even as the strains of life's orchestra reach their bittersweet crescendo. You can picture Abe at his desk, papers sprawled like a mosaic of past decisions guiding future paths, all while the world keeps spinning on its axis, warm with the promise of tomorrows yet to play out. It's 1865, and Lincoln, re-elected, steps once more into the helm of a nation still tethered to the tumult of civil strife. Imagine him holding the reins of a future that must be carved out of this very turmoil. Each day, an exercise in sustaining harmony, even from discordant notes spread out before him like a musical score awaiting resolution. In a tender irony, amidst the trenches of duty, Abe manages to glimpse the horizon, where peace begins to unfurl its tentative petals. The Civil War edges toward conclusion, with tidings arriving as tentative as the first crocuses peeking through winter-chilled soil. Each dispatch brings a small breath of relief, like that moment when, after refreshing the page 5 times, you finally see good news. In one of those soul-clutching twists of fate, as Abe strides through this singular moment in history, he delivers his second inaugural address, a speech that gracefully weaves ideals of reconciliation and healing into its fabric, with malice toward none, with charity for all. He speaks, his words cradling the anxious nation like a gentle reminder to extend hands rather than weapons. If you close your eyes, you might hear it too. Hope sketched amid uncertainty, like streetlights glowing on an otherwise dark alleyway. Historians, of course, love to debate what Lincoln's post-war vision of Reconstruction would have fully entailed. Would he have seamlessly stitched the nation back together, healing wounds with visionary stitches? Or was it a dream, cut shorter than it ought to have been? And then, as if the universe wanted a poetic close, it's the night of April 14th, 1865. Abe decides to attend Ford's Theater with Mary, seeking a sliver of normality amidst the swirling storm. Picture the scene: the stage awash in warm light, laughter threading itself through the audience, the gentle thrum of shared humanity holding them all in place for a breath. But fate takes its final toll that evening, plunging the theater and the nation into darkness. The shot that rings out echoes like a chilling finale to an orchestral symphony, the kind that leaves you stunned into silence as the last notes fade into a haunting whisper of stillness. In those moments that follow, timeless yet fleeting, Abe leaves behind a nation that mourns deeply, grieving a leader who stood tall amid chaos, striving for unity in the roar of separation. His legacy, silently yet steadily, transcends the cruelty of that night, sowing itself into the very fabric of America's hopeful aspirations. As you drift slowly out from Abe's story, you feel the caress of history's enduring lullaby, laden with a resolute whisper, promising that the journey of ideals does not end, even as its torchbearer walks into shadows. And as you linger in the calm stillness left behind, the promise of unity, compassion, and resilience plays gently like a familiar tune on the ticking winds of time, gently rocking you toward dreams, stretching into that forever horizon. As the narrative lingers in the nights following Lincoln's departure, the world continues its subtle hum around his lasting impressions, like the quiet after an intense concert where every note hangs delicate and true before fading into memory. While the nation tries to fathom the enormity of its loss, you find yourself pondering the stories yet untold, the echoes of hope's call that continue to resonate beneath the surface. In this hushed aftermath, life ushers in a gentle dawn, the kind that creeps softly over the horizon, bearing with it the tones of renewal. Mary Todd Lincoln, now a widow, grapples with the void left behind, yet her strength mirrors that of anyone piecing broken fragments into fragments of hope, finding light even in corner shadows. The sound of change flows quietly beneath the nation's feet, subtle like water under ice, filling voids once held by division, transformative like the colors blooming across an artist's untamed canvas. The periods that follow, Reconstruction and Rebirth, take their first tentative steps. Each choice and consequence born from this will be debated, dissected, and discussed, like a timeless Reddit thread where opinions collide, yet every voice adds depth to the dialogue. As it always does, history's forward march continues. Future generations will unfold the pages of Lincoln's era with reverent care, infusing each line with their interpretation, deciphering its code like scholars protected by the candlelit glow of yesteryear. The soldiers and citizens who once walked parallel paths with the president sketch their own epitaphs of his legacy, a collage of enduring ideals that stretched far beyond individual battles fought. Curiously enough, long after his departure, a peculiar sentiment attaches itself lovingly to Lincoln. The warmth that can only come from the stories friends recount over late-night coffee, speaking of moments shared. Whether it's the gleam in his eye during one of his storied jokes, or the tangible steadiness in which he believed in a unified humanity, it's as if the simplicity of a dream mirrored his essence. A few years pass, and the monument stands, the Lincoln Memorial reaching into the sky, in homage not just to the man, but to the spirit embodied through stoic gaze and outstretched hand. Historians and wanderers alike continue to visit, their whispers mingling with the winds in homage. Yet, they still reach for the unanswered. Did he know how profoundly he touched hearts, how his quiet charisma lived on, as universally iconic as a silhouette against an endless sky. And when you visit, you stand quietly before that stone likeness, letting the present wash over you. For just one moment, you feel as if you share the space with him, a comforting presence, invisible among the whispers of breezes, a link renewed through timeless reverie. Lincoln's life, a mosaic kaleidoscope, all tender cracks and glistening colors, becomes entwined with your memories. As the echoes of his life slowly fade into the tapestry of night, there's a gentle assurance that springs forth, a belief that will guide you onward like gentle fireside dreams. Honest Abe, with his warm gaze and timeless compassion, continues to speak across time's unbroken journey in quiet resurgence. And within his story, we find echoes of ourselves, ever dreaming in step with the noble pursuit of a dawn ever aware, ever understanding, and ever brightly shared. As the soft narrative of Lincoln's life reaches its final cadence, the world continues to weave his tapestry into the broader fabric of history. We find ourselves adrift in the reflections on his legacy, which linger like the comforting aftertaste of a favorite childhood meal, familiar and warmly reassuring. In the quiet aftermath of his life, Abraham Lincoln transforms into an emblem of resolve, his legacy a guiding star for future generations to navigate by. His decisions as president, while fraught with turmoil, remind us of the power of perseverance and empathy in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Each policy and speech is remembered not simply as historical milestones, but as testaments to a simple yet profound belief that hope can persist even in the darkest of times. As time meanders on, we see how deeply Lincoln's story permeates our collective narrative, like a thread interwoven through the countless tales that history tells. From classrooms to coffee shops, debates about his choices and their lasting impact continue to unfold. Each discussion a pebble dropped into a pond, sending ripples through the minds of those eager to uncover new angles. People still wonder about the man behind the legend. Was he more idealist or pragmatist? Was there ever a moment of doubt as he carved a path through the uncertainty of leadership? In towns and cities across the land, his visage graces everything from currency to portraits, a stoic presence that honors his unwavering dedication. We create, share, and pass down our own stories infused with the spirit of what Honest Abe stood for. A world where integrity and compassion hold firm against the storms of adversity. And so, in these quieter moments of remembrance, we gently retreat into the comforting arms of understanding that though Lincoln's life came to a close, the essence of what he believed in carries on like a whisper to the soul. His story becomes a part of the rhythm that lulls us toward sleep, a lullaby infused with the promise of dreams stretching forward into infinite possibility. As you lie back to rest, nestling deeper beneath the covers, Lincoln's story becomes a cozy companion, the weight of it soothing against the hustle and bustle of modernity. There's reassurance in knowing that even through uncertain times, the enduring spirit of unity and hope remains, shimmering through the veil of time like fairy lights casting gentle glows across shadowed walls. And thus, with a heart full of inspiration, you allow yourself to drift further into the embrace of restful slumber, guided along the familiar paths of your own dreams, ones where hope, courage, and the promise of a better tomorrow lead the way, ever onward through the tapestry of night and into the warm glow of the dawning day. As you gently nestle into the embrace of this quiet night, the story of Abraham Lincoln softly fades into the background, echoing within the chambers of your mind. It leaves behind a soothing acknowledgement of all human endeavors wrapped in courage and vulnerability, a reminder that history is as much the stories of those who dared to hope as it is of those who chose to lead. Every step Lincoln took resonates with us today, echoing across generations like melodies carried by the wind. It's that quiet reassurance as you lie under the stars, treasuring each flicker like a personal vow from the universe that there's purpose beyond the horizon. His journey, though steeped in the threads of time, is a narrative of perseverance, marking the pages of history with an imprint of grace and strength. As you close your eyes, imagine drifting down a gentle stream, each thought a ripple caressing the water's surface, guiding you into deeper rest. Lincoln's legacy blends seamlessly into the tranquil lull of rhythmic breaths, as constant and comforting as the sun rising to meet each morning sky. His leadership during tumultuous times serves as a quiet lullaby, whispering assurances that unity and hope will always find a way. Just for a moment, envision yourself walking beside him along those starlit grounds, where silence and contemplation hold sway amidst the night. The world unfolds beneath a canopy of dreams. You, too, can feel that quiet strength, an ever-present guide through dimly lit paths, illuminating new avenues waiting to be explored. In the tender moments before dreams carry you away, reflect on the impressions left by history's figures, Abe among them, their stories casting gentle light toward a future woven with compassion, honesty, and vision. It's a path laid not just by deeds and words, but by the enduring spirit of hope that lies within every heart willing to embrace it. And so, gradually, let yourselves wander beyond this narrative into your own spaces, where your aspirations and dreams hold court. Allow the gentle rhythm of sleep to lead you forward, each breath a step toward a serene night filled with boundless peace. As you surrender to the soothing quiet of slumber, know that here, within the pages and memories of humankind, Lincoln's story remains, a beacon steadfast against the shadows of night. Silently, gently, the whispers of history fade, the night cradling you in its calm embrace as you journey through the landscapes of your own imagination. Drift peacefully now, secure in the knowledge that tomorrow's dawn brings fresh tapestries for weaving, a day bright with possibility and the lingering echoes of those who have illuminated the path before us. At this glorious precipice of sleep and wakefulness, where the echoes of Lincoln's remarkable story begin to settle like soft snow on a quiet morning, you find yourself wrapped in the warmth of contemplation. The serenity surrounding you is as profound as the legacy left by Abe, a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit, resting softly alongside you in this twilight reverie. Picture yourself momentarily stepping back into those painting-like moments of history where even the smallest detail, like a lingering glance or a gentle tug of a pen on parchment, had the power to shape the world. Lincoln's contributions are woven seamlessly into the ever-rolling scroll of time, like whispered promises that softly touch the heart, even in the darkest hours. In these tender moments, a curious peace engulfs you as you envision a life so enthusiastically devoted to bringing people together amidst division. It's like holding a well-loved book whose pages are worn with the fingerprints of seekers past, and finding your own reflection among their stories. The lullaby of Lincoln's enduring vision, anchored by an unwavering commitment to justice and equality, serves as a calming caress for your soul, reminding you of everything that is possible when heart and tenacity meet. Here, nestled within history's gentle embrace, you can feel the pull of a shared humanity, a bond stretching through time, whispering its secrets into the fabric of your dreams. As the night advances, you're invited to slip deeper into your own storybook of dreams, a fluid mixture of reality and imagination, where your aspirations find harmony within the tapestry woven by those who dared to hope and inspire. In your dreamscape, walking beside giants like Lincoln feels as natural as taking a breath. A connection reaching across generations, kindling brightly with the promise of renewal and exploration. In this tranquil refuge, surrendering to the quiet rhythms of the night, let Abe's journey serve as a gentle reminder that even in the midst of daunting challenges, there is a guiding light, the untarnished beacon of courage and resilience, faithfully leading the way. As sleep begins to carry you within its gentle undertow, allow Lincoln's legacy to inspire that part of your soul which forever seeks the light of tomorrow. So, let your dreams unfurl like silken banners on a whispering breeze, buoyant with the certainty that as the night envelopes you, all stories merge into one grand tapestry of life, where each moment of stillness contains both the echoes of the past and the potential of every dawn yet to come. Embrace this tranquil ending, where history and dreams hold you peacefully, whispering sweetly into the gentle mists of sleep. As you nestle deeper into the quiet embrace of the night, the echoes of stories past start to weave seamlessly into the fabric of your dreams, transforming the shadows of history into the guiding starlight of the present. The soothing cadence of Lincoln's legacy finds its rhythm in the gentle pulse of your thoughts as you drift further into the dreamscape, enveloped by a soft, assuring cocoon of reflection and hope. Imagine yourself standing amid the vastness of a verdant prairie, echoes of Lincoln's words rustling through the tall grass like whispered promises under the watchful gaze of a luminous moon. These whispers, tender and true, are balms to our weary souls, softly reminding us that every act of courage, no matter how small, contributes to the larger narrative of progress and unity. In this space of gentle pondering, Abe's silhouette stands quietly beside you, a steadfast reminder that even the smallest flicker of hope can ignite a blaze of transformation. His journey, a melody of perseverance and resilience, serves as a compass, guiding us through the tangled forests of today's challenges toward the clearing where understanding and empathy patiently await. As you gently flex the wings of your imagination, ponder the road ahead against this backdrop of timeless aspiration. The echo of his gentle wisdom nourishes your dreaming heart with the strength of simple truths. That kindness softens the sharpest edges, and patient understanding bridges the deepest divides. These nighttime musings find harmony within you, as natural as the stars tracing their eternal paths across the midnight sky. While the night deepens around you, let this revelation, one that countless generations have turned toward, ease you into a deeper, more restful slumber. Within the cradle of your dreams, floating in that serene in-between space of endless possibility, you find the courage to write your own chapters of hope and unity. In this tender surrender to sleep, enveloped by warmth and history's gentle murmurings, you rest, knowing the spirit of those like Lincoln continues to breathe resolve and inspiration into the lives of those who find solace in their stories. And as you drift effortlessly into the tranquil haven of restful dreams, remember that each morning brings a fresh canvas, lovingly awaiting your artful brushstrokes etched with the hope and promise captured within the lilt of whispers gently spoken across time. Now, with that comforting assurance lighting your way, let yourself fall into the slumbering arms of the night, secure in the knowledge that you walk amidst the footprints of giants, gently guided by the echoes of their enduring dreams. With the final chapters of the night cradling you softly, the gentle echoes of Lincoln's life story envelop you like a warm quilt, each patchwork piece a testament to endurance, hope, and a steadfast commitment to compassion. The world outside fades into a serene hush, leaving you nestled under the timeless cloak of tranquility, where dreams weave themselves into the promises of a new dawn. As you drift deeper into this quiet sanctuary, the lingering impressions of history blend seamlessly with the quiet pulse of your inner thoughts. The night, so tender and forgiving, embraces both your imaginings and your resolve, allowing them to dance freely in the realm of endless possibility. You find yourself enveloped by an assurance that transcends the shadows of uncertainty. Imagine now the gentle rustle of leaves in the whispering night breeze, reminiscent of those days when Abe would stand among vast fields, eyes fixed on an ever-enduring horizon. His legacy, a vibrant tapestry interwoven with threads of conviction and grace, wraps around you and invites you to dream boldly, to stand tall against the winds of doubt. Within this reflective serenity, consider the power of quiet determination and thoughtful action. Those small, silent ripples that gather into mighty waves of change. Lincoln, with his humble beginnings yet great aspirations, remains a beacon of how gentle, persistent efforts can sculpt the world anew, chipping away at the shadows to uncover the brilliance of unity and equality beneath. As the final notes of his story softly play out, imagine the countless hearts touched by his gentle spirit, a melody of resilience carried forward through time. His journey endures in the galleries of your dreams, a beacon of hope that lights your path as you wade through the silken mists of slumber. In your dreams, embrace the vivid kaleidoscope of possibilities, our collective histories and futures entwined in an exquisite dance. Lincoln's journey serves as both anchor and sail, grounding you with steadfast principles, while propelling you toward future horizons painted with opportunity and compassion. With each beat of your resting heart, you are reminded that the stories of those who walked before us weave in companionship alongside ours, infusing us with the strength to embrace the light in our shared humanity. As the whispers of night lull you into deeper rest, know that within you resides the potential to inspire, to heal, and to dream boundless dreams. In this moment, as you surrender fully to sleep's gentle call, feel the comforting embrace of past echoes, guiding you tenderly into a peaceful realm. And so, wrapped in this tranquil cocoon, with your heart at peace, let slumber sweep over you like a soft, endless tide, carrying with it the promise of dawn's gentle glow, an eternal testament to life and hope renewed.